Cool Hand Podcast, something you got to deal with. Welcome back to the show. I'm your host. My name is Q. Now, a few weeks back, I did a review for an artist who goes by the name of Tavon Kacey. And before we started this interview, I did not confirm if I was saying your name right, but I am saying it right.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
All right, because some people's names like Javon, and they pronounce it Javon or Tavon. So okay, Tavon Kacey.
And like, it's funny you say that because my sister's name is Javon.
Okay, so yeah, I do not want to. I'm big on not disrespecting people's names. Like if this is the way your name is pronounced, we're gonna pronounce it that way. But a few weeks ago, and into my monologue, a few weeks ago, I covered Solitary by Tavon Kacey, talked about it, had a good time listening to it, had a good time reviewing it. But now we actually have the actual artist on the show. So guest Tavon Kacey, welcome to the Cool Hand Podcast.
Thank you for having me, bro. Like I said before, man, I was waiting. I was definitely waiting for my turn. I was like, man, all these people get their turn except me. Nah.
Yeah, well, this is your turn to be on the podcast, and I'm glad to have you. This is it's always fun to talk to new artists and stuff like that. So we're going to talk about, today's all about Tavon. We're going to get into your background, this, that, music, and things alike. So just first of all, how are you doing?
I'm great, bro. I had today off, and I had the theocratic things going on this morning, and that was beautiful. But other than that, man, I just been chilling.
Yeah, this is a Sunday for the people who are watching this. I don't know when this is going to come out, but this is a Sunday. It's an easy Sunday. But
right.
Tavon, once again, thanks for coming on. But let's talk about you. Now, first of all, I mentioned this on the review, but you're coming out of where?
I'm coming out of Harrisburg, Pennsylvania.
Harrisburg.
That's about what, 3.5, 4 hours away from Pittsburgh?
Maybe it's something like that. I know Harrisburg is a little drive away, but yeah. So we're in the same state, Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. What was life like growing up in Harrisburg?
Well, really, a lot of people don't know. I was born here in Harrisburg, and then when I was a newborn, we moved down to Florida. And we moved to a small section of Florida called Palatka. And, for those of you that don't know, Palatka is like basically about 15 minutes away from Jacksonville, I think. So, so we lived there until around 6 years, when I was 6 years old. And after 6 years, we moved back. So I've been here ever since.
Do you remember? Do you remember anything from Florida? I know you were pretty young. Do you remember anything from Florida?
Only thing I can remember is my sister treating me like dirt. I was the youngest. Like, she was like 2 years older than me, and she used to take my toys, and she used to hang it over my head so I couldn't reach it. Stuff like that. Just little kid stuff.
Yeah.
But other than that, I don't really remember too much besides me always being the youngest out the group.
Mm-hmm. How many siblings were there?
I have 2 older sisters and I have 2 younger brothers. So I'm literally the middle child.
Got you.
But yeah, it was from what I remember, it wasn't too bad,
Mm-hmm. And then in Harrisburg, going up there, what was it like growing up for you and your family up in Harrisburg from 6 years of age onward?
So in Harrisburg, it's surprisingly bad. Like I mentioned before, at 1 year, I think it was 2014, 2013, 2014, something like that. Harrisburg was considered, one of the top 20 worst states in the country. So it was it was actually pretty bad at one point. It's clean, like it's cleaned up a little bit now, but back then it was pretty bad though.
Okay. Yeah, and that was something we were talking beforehand. I didn't know that because it, you think about big cities, and Pittsburgh ain't no big city either, but a lot of these cities that we hear about are like vacation destinations or cities with sport teams and things like that. So just growing up, even just coming from Pittsburgh and being in the same state, never heard too much about Harrisburg outside of it being like the state capital. So
Right.
so yeah, that's interesting to know. So what were you kind of exposed to growing up in Harrisburg? Were you exposed to like some of those bad things that the city was known for?
From a young age, I do remember being around it, but my household, my parents always taught us, like it's nothing wrong with saying no. Like I remember people used to come up to me when I was in school and just offer me stuff, and I'm just like, nah, I'm good. Everybody else, they might have folded under temptation, but me, I was just like, nah, I'm good. And then I never thought twice about it.
Yeah. Well, shout out to the folks, shout out to the family. Raising the son right. So what did you guys do for fun or creatively when you were growing up? Maybe it was just you or you and your siblings or you as in the whole family together.
I always felt, now my siblings are like, they're all creative in their own right, but I never really this is probably gonna sound bad, but I never really took the time to like understand what they are creatively good at, so or good at creatively. But me personally, when I was 13, I remember when I was in sixth grade, I remember I used to just draw all the time. I remember specifically a parent-teacher conference. I think it was my mom and my dad. They both came into the classroom, and they knew exactly which desk I sat at before I could even point it out, because it was just like it was drawings all over the like literally all over the desk, and that was literally how I was up until like maybe 6th, 7th grade. And no, probably around 8th grade. That's probably when I stopped really drawing and like started getting into music and stuff.
Okay. Now, what would you draw? We're going to get into the music, but like, what would you draw? What did you like to doodle, draw, create when you were more on the drawing side of art?
Man, I used to draw a lot. I used to draw like I used to just draw portraits of like my classmates, my parents, my brothers, and my sisters. And I used to take those flip notes and just draw little cartoons on it. Like I was pretty good at that back then. Yeah, I would literally just draw anything. I would mostly draw sports, like like people playing basketball, people playing football. And that's like, I would literally just sit there and draw. Whatever came to my mind, I would just sit and draw.
Did you get in trouble for that in school?
Nah, my teacher came over to me one time and she just looked at me and she was like, okay. She just kept walking. But yeah, like I never really got into trouble because like I was always the quiet kid, like the quiet kid doesn't mess with nobody. He just does what he wants to do without bothering anybody. So I was one of them kids. I had a terrible speech problem. I used to stutter all over the place, man. And to the point where I just didn't want to talk to people. So that's why I would just sit there and draw. And, it wasn't until I got into music where I learned how to really express myself. And, I got comfortable talking around people. Or it wasn't up until that point, but, a little bit before that, I was actually getting into music. But back then, I just couldn't talk to nobody, or at least that's how I felt,
How did you overcome that? Because when I was coming up and in school, there would be people who whether it was a stuttering issue, and then some people, they just didn't pronounce things right, you know, like some people, and they just pronounce things kind of funny, like they couldn't form the words out of their mouth to say certain things, and they would go to speech class. And did you have to do anything like that?
Oh yeah, I had to go to speech class. Specifically back in like sixth grade.
Mm-hmm.
Fifth and sixth grade, I went to speech class, and really that didn't help at all. If anything, it kind of made the problem worse. But
Man.
yeah, yeah, because like the teachers, they really wasn't helping. They just were saying, okay, pronounce this word, and you'll try to pronounce it. No, say it like this. Dad, okay, I'm trying, you know?
Yeah.
But yeah, like, yeah, I had to go to speech class back then, but I still stutter, but not nowhere near as bad as I used to.
Gotcha. Let me tell you, well, I'll stutter sometimes too, at the most inconvenient times. Now, so yeah, no, absolutely, I will. And then it's like, why did I just stutter? So I can be at work or something, and I'll be talking to somebody or trying to like explain something, or let's just say a manager comes in or something, and I'm just like trying to say, hey, good morning, or something like that. I'll fumble, like I was like straight up fumble, and I'm like, why did that just happen? Or you know what I mean? So yeah. I guess what I'm leading into, did you ever like realize the cause of your stuttering? Like, was it a nervous thing, or was it just a uncomfortability? Dog, I'm not even going to try to pronounce that, uncomfortability thing.
I think what it was, you know, just growing up, and you're noticeably different compared to all the other kids. Then people just automatically look at you and say, oh, like he's different, you know, like I think it was the pressure of being different back then that caused me to stutter. Because at the end of the day, when you stutter, the reason that you stutter is most likely because you anticipate yourself stuttering. So when you're in a room full of people and they ask you a question, in your mind, you're like, okay, I'm about to stutter. And then the moment you say that, then you start to stutter, you know? So I actually learned that from Steve Harvey. Shout out to Steve Harvey, by the way.
shout out to 1990 Steve Harvey and early 2000 Steve Harvey with the super crispy hairline. Shout out to Steve Harvey. Yeah, man. But okay, so transitioning into the music, thank you for talking about the speech and everything. I do appreciate it, because it was pretty interesting just to learn, to get into the mind of someone who was dealing with that and overcame it too. So thank you. Now, getting into the music, did you say it was around 8th grade you kind of transitioned into music more?
Yeah, I mean, like my dad had this computer that he used to keep in the living room, and it had FL Studios on it. So I would just go on the computer and just make beats. And you know, it'd be like super simple beats, like kick, bass, snare, kick, bass, snare. Like it didn't have no melody to it. It just had the beat to it. So I would just sit there for like hours at a time and just make different beats, you know. And then after I made one, I would just delete everything I put down and just make a new one. And so that kind of exercised me into becoming a producer, because I actually started out as a producer before anything else. So yeah, that's how it all started, basically.
Okay, since we're talking about production real quick, did you produce, I don't know who produced them songs on Solitary, was that all you, or did you get some other producers too?
I had nothing to do with those.
Okay.
With those. Nah, but it's funny because I got them all off of YouTube. And the reason that I didn't put the producer names, you know, beside the song is because I feel like people, when they listen to songs, specifically songs that have meaning, then they focus more so on the beat, and then they go and look up that producer, as opposed to listening to the words that I put on the beat. you know? So I feel like sometimes you got to be selfish as an artist. So that's kind of my way of being a little bit selfish, even though I'm not making no profit off of it. I just wanted people to hear what I'm saying and relate to it, you know?
Got you. All right. So we're going back to 8th grade again and making the beats on FL Studio, hours at a time, creating the beat, starting all over, creating the beat, starting all over. What point did the bars, the lyrics come into play?
What point did they come? I think it was around, I started writing around 16. Even though it was trash, I'm not gonna lie to you. It was it was pretty bad. And I think the reason that I started writing specifically was the fact that, you know, at lunch in high school, you know, people used to have little rap back and forth, you know, battles or whatever. And it was this one white kid. The reason I say white kid is because he was literally like, he was the only white kid in the entire school, you know.
Okay.
It was all blacks and Spanish, you know. But it was this white kid. He was at the table killing everybody. And I will not be a victim. So I just decided one day, I just went home and I just started writing. And it was trash. I'm not, I'm so glad I never got the chance to battle against that guy, because he would have wiped me anyway. Yeah, like that's how the bars came along, because of the kid. I forget his name, but he was actually pretty decent. When I think back now, I'm like, he was okay. But you know, like for the time being, I'm like, man, this dude's killing everybody, you know?
Yeah. So up until that time, were you still making the beats? Because from when you're 16, what are you in, like 10th or 11th grade here? So from 8th grade, you're like 13, 14, something like that and so leading up to that time, you were still messing around on FL Studios and making the beats and all that?
Right.
Okay.
Now, back then, I wasn't really taking the beat making serious. It wasn't until around 17 where I started taking beat serious. Like when I started, you know, actually saving the beats and, you know, finding ways to put melodies into the beats, sample stuff. I started really taking it serious back then.
Okay. All right, cool. So the bars came slowly, not like if you're starting at 16, of course you're not going to come out on some, you know, you ain't going to be Nas when you first start rapping. So that's super understandable. So with time, as time progressed and you were persistent with the rap, and I would assume you became persistent writing bars and things like that. And that was at 16. So at what point did you become, in your opinion, good enough to like really like spit something in front of somebody else and kind of impress somebody else with your bars and lyrics?
Around that time, I would probably say around 20. 20
Okay.
is when I actually, you know, started, you know, getting confident enough to say, okay, I can actually rap. You know, because I used to watch a lot of battle rap, and I'm pretty sure you're familiar with battle rap.
Yes.
So I used to watch a lot of, you know, Daylight, used to watch a lot of Tay Rock, used to watch a lot of Charlie Clips, you know, just people of that nature. And after a while, like the whole metaphors, and I don't want to say it became easy, but after watching people do it so many times, it just becomes like a part of the way you think when it comes to writing music.
Yeah.
So that's when I started, you know, actually becoming a little bit more confident.
Now, when did you start recording? When did you start putting everything on wax?
So I started recording at 19, and I'm so upset that I recorded at 19, because listen back to my old stuff, man, it's not pleasant to my ears. Like everybody else says, it's not that bad, but me, I'm like, I know what I can do now, and it's terrible to me.
Yeah. Yeah, get those feelings of insignificance. But you know what? I hear the same thing from other people too. Like they don't like their old work because they know that they've improved so much more. Like one of my friends, he has a project from 2016 and it's good. Like it's a really solid project, but he's like, nah, that like I hate it. So okay. And when it came to making the music, what was the content like when you started recording and everything? What was the content? What were you pushing out?
Basically the only content that I had at first was, oh, I'm a better rapper than you, you know, who's a better rapper than me, like stuff like that. And then after a while I tried to put in like messages in songs, which naturally I was pretty good at, you know, putting messages in songs, you know, just from, I think that stems from me being like a artist who drew when I was like younger. So naturally you become pretty good at imagining things and putting stuff in, you know, poems and songs.
And what year, when you said like your bars were your message and content was more like I'm a better rapper, what year was this around when you started like recording and everything?
2015, 2016. It's 2015 actually.
Okay, 2015, 2016. Now, I was trying to like make a correlation to like the state of music in 2015, 2016, and maybe an influence it might have had on your music. But if it was like, if you ended up saying like 2010 or 2011, that's when like the whole Lil Wayne and everything, and like all the bars were like, you know, I'm the best and things like that. Everybody was like really rapping to be the best. But like 2015, 2016, there was that transition phase into like, you know, the wild hair and like the things that we see today. Like, but my next question for you is who are some of your influences to your music?
I love this question so much. So obviously, you know, around that time, that's when 2014 Forest Hills Drive came out.
Okay.
And honestly, Forest Hills Drive, that's probably my favorite project or my favorite album of all time.
Okay.
Yeah. And then the year after that is when Kendrick dropped To Pimp a Butterfly.
Yes.
And To Pimp a Butterfly is my second favorite project of all time. So when I put those together, I was basically putting content that, you know, I was trying to mix J. Cole with Kendrick Lamar and Drake's If You're Reading This It's Too Late, you know, like I was trying to put all of those into one bubble, and I was still trying to come up with my own sound, but that's all I could come up with. So that's all I did.
Mm-hmm. That's interesting. And growing up too, so we have the J. Cole, we have the Kendrick. I love To Pimp a Butterfly too. Like that's one of like, I don't want to call it. That's his best project, in my opinion. Out of albums,
Me too, bro. Me too.
Out of albums, out of all his albums, out of all Kendrick albums, To Pimp a Butterfly is probably my favorite. But anyway, this ain't about what my favorite and my preference is. But who were you listening to, music wise, just growing up? I forgot to ask that a little earlier.
Growing up, so it's interesting because my parents, they brought two different flavors of music. My mom, she would bring that old school type flavor into the household. My dad would introduce us to like newer stuff, you know? So my mom would be cleaning around the house on like a Saturday or a Sunday, and she would have Luther Vandross just playing in the background, or Anita Baker, or, you know, just people like that. And my dad, you know, he'll be cleaning or, you know, just having music playing, and it'd be like, back then it was like Biggie, Tupac. It was it was Nas, it was Eminem. My dad introduced me to like the whole hip hop side of everything. My mom introduced me to the old school R&B, soul type stuff.
Who's your favorite rapper? Gotta throw that out there.
My favorite rapper now?
Your favorite rapper now, and then I gotta follow up with who's your favorite all time. We could do both.
Oh, you can't do that to me. Right now, I would say my favorite rapper right now is probably, and people are going to be looking at me like I'm biased, but I don't care. I still consider Kendrick to be my favorite rapper right now, even though he hasn't put out stuff in like 4 years. He just put out a single about, 2 days ago, something like that. And but yeah, like Kendrick always has like that special place in my heart artistically,
Mm-hmm.
And then of all time.
Yeah. We'll take a top 3 or a top 5 if you want to, if you just can't say one.
Okay, top 5, dead or alive. All right, so speaking of that, I got to throw Jadakiss in there. I love Jadakiss. Then after Jadakiss, I'll go Andre 3000.
Okay.
Obviously, I'm gonna throw Biggie in there. And then I'm gonna go with Method Man. And you know what? Nah, I love Method Man, but I can't throw him in there. I'm gonna
look like meth. Now that you say it, like not exactly, but I can kind of see it.
I mean, I love Method Man, bro, but I gotta say Eminem. And then my 5th, I'll probably say Kendrick.
That's fair. That's fair enough. Yeah, it's your top 5. Yeah. All right. So we get a little more of Tavon Kacey's flavors when we flavor a rap. So okay. Mm-hmm. All right. Now we talked about the top 5. We talked about all that. Let's get back to your music, and you're putting out the content, a mix of Forest Hills Drive, 2014 Forest Hills Drive, and To Pimp a Butterfly. So I lost my own train of thought. So as things started to progress, what did you start recording on? What kind of like software or DAW, whatever it's called? What did you start recording and doing all that stuff with?
So I think in one of the last interviews you did, it was with Chlorophyll Collins, and he brought out how, it's not what you use, it's how you use it. And I agree with him 100% because I've been using nothing but FL Studios for everything. I used to make beats on FL Studios. I record, I mix, I master on FL Studios. So like that's literally all I've been using. And for my microphone, I have just an old computer microphone, which is it's a Blue Snowball.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Like it's a Blue Snowball microphone, and I have an old Dell computer that has dust all on the buttons and stuff. but it still works though. Like I tell people all the time, people are like, "Oh, you got to upgrade." I'm like, I'll upgrade when I absolutely have to. No,
I dig that. 100%. One of my friends who makes music, plays the guitar and stuff like that, he really went for a minimal approach when it came to making music and wanting to master what he had before he started getting other stuff. Because I rock with what you're saying, because you can have all the equipment in the world and still put out a trash project, a nasty mix. And I'm not like the mix king. I can't, tell a horrible mix from like, but anyway, you get what I'm saying. Like you can have all of it in the world. You can have the best mic, the best this, the best that, and your stuff still sounds like, it doesn't sound good. And then on the flip side, you have somebody who might have something, I'm not going to say outdated, but maybe an old school thing or something that's not the newest joint, but they're still putting out quality work and it sounds good and it's pleasing to the ears. So I mess with that sentiment. I mess with that, what you said. So yeah, shout out to you. And when I listen to Solitary and some of the other Lucy's, I listen to a few other Lucy's. I don't remember the names, but like it sounds good. And one of the things that stands out to me are the bars. Like, especially if you listen to rap, like listening to, I think like R&B or indie, you might want to hear some other elements. But when I'm listening to rap, I came to hear rap. Like I came to hear lyrics, I came to hear bars. So I can appreciate what you said.
Thank you, bro.
Oh yeah. You can rap. So moving on, at what point did the thought of putting together a project come, and when did that first project come out?
So I know like the timelines is kind of messed up because like I kind of had like I kind of jumped into stuff pretty soon, you know, as an artist, like when it came to rapping and stuff. But when I was 19 or 20, I dropped my first I think I was 20. Yeah, I was 20 years old. I dropped my first project, and I don't consider it an album or anything. When I really look at it, it's just like a whole bunch of demos that are, you know, just unfinished, rough draft, you know, like yeah, that's pretty much what they were. So I don't really consider that my first album. So that was around 2016 when I dropped that. But I would say my first project, I would say, is in 2017. That was like my debut like album, I would say, you know. And that's called Poison Ivy Effect. If anybody wants to go and check it out, it's on my SoundCloud. Poison Ivy Effect, yeah. So that was, and basically all of those songs on there, they're all like rough drafts and demos and stuff. So those songs on that project are just glimpses of my old stuff, but I had to go back and remix some of the stuff so that the quality could sound at least a little bit better.
Got you. And then was Solitary your second project?
Solitary is my second project, yes.
And that was 2020.
2020.
All right, so let's talk about Solitary. I didn't listen to the Poison Ivy Effect, so I'm gonna have to check that out. I'll report back to the people later on Poison Ivy Effect.
Bro, like it now, if you have weak ears, man, I wouldn't recommend it. No, I mean like it's not a bad project. I'm my own worst critic, so I'm probably gonna be saying terrible stuff about it. But I hear a lot of people saying, look, I love this, you know.
Okay, well I'm gonna have to spin it, man. So I'm gonna have to spin it. So now going to the project that I had reviewed, which was Solitary. And with Solitary, if you haven't watched that video, go ahead and check it out. I'm not going to do a whole review of it, but that had a whole review of it right now. We already got that. But with Solitary, there was a lot of feelings, emotions. There was like a real message with it. And one of the things that I didn't ask about in conjunction with Solitary was there was more like the singing, like I mentioned on the review. Like I called it like kind of like the best name I gave it was trap soul type thing. So when did you want to start laying down like some melodies and using your vocals in a singing fashion?
That was the first time, believe it or not. That was the first time where I actually wanted to like sing. Because before I made like hooks, you know, I was singing on the hooks, but you know, like is like the singing that I was doing before was like I said before, I was a fan of J. Cole and all these other artists. So the singing that I was doing on the hook before was basically me taking away from J. Cole and doing the type of singing that he does, you know. But it wasn't until Solitary, you know, it was like a situation going on in my life where I felt like singing was like the best option to do it. Like, or singing was the best option for me to, you know, try to release it. And it worked.
Singing brings about different emotions. There's one thing to rap, but even people who can't sing, cats who singing in the shower or singing around the house, singing, it's definitely different. I don't know what triggers the brain and things like that, but the different sounds that you hear or make when you sing, it's definitely a whole different type of zone that you're in. So that's pretty interesting to know, because I enjoyed the singing on Solitary. I thought it was pretty good. So job well done with that. So with Solitary, let me ask you some questions about that, because you know I'm curious. So what were, of course you say whatever you're comfortable with, but what were some of the things going on in your life with Solitary when you decided to create that content for that project? So
around that time, it was like my first actual relationship, you know, and like I was, you know, everything was all good, and then it seemed like in like a split second, like everything just like changed, and it literally like, you know, I'm pretty sure you heard somebody say like, oh, it felt like they took my heart out and crumbled it up, and you know, like it sounds funny when you actually think about it, because it's like a metaphor, but like that's literally what it felt like. At that point, that's literally what it felt like. And then I couldn't even, you know, for a while I couldn't make music for like a couple months. I couldn't write. I found beats that I liked, but I just couldn't write to it because my mind was just so messed up. I was in like a super dark, depressed state. So I couldn't write. I couldn't do anything creatively.
So we have a heartbreak theme. There goes that theme of heartbreak. And then when like it seemed like you got abandoned or something, or you felt abandoned, not only with the relationship, but even with friends. Was it like, did the homies pack up and leave?
I mean, like, so in that relationship, it was multiple times when I told her, okay, like you the only friend that I got. Cause at that point, you know, I wasn't really around nobody else. I wasn't really friends, or I had friends, but you know, it's like nobody was reaching out to me, and you know, it was just one of those things. And so I felt like at that point, she was my only friend. So we would talk every single day. And you know, like the standards, when you're in a relationship, you talk every single day. But when you're just friends, you don't really talk every single day. So that's why I felt abandoned, because it's like, okay, so what am I supposed to do now? You know? But that's pretty much how I felt.
Did you get any type of sense of relief after putting that project out, after putting all of those feelings and what you were going through in music?
Bro, I felt like I was dancing with the stars, no pun intended. Like I felt like I was dancing with the stars, bro. I was so light on my feet, man. And it was so after I did every other song besides Dance with the Stars on Solitary, after I put all those songs out, I was happy. And then I was like, you know what? I'm happy. I feel like making a song about it. And so I literally made a song called Dance with the Stars, and that became the outro to Solitary.
Okay. What was the reception like? Because in 2020, what was it, February 2020, that project, you put that project out?
It was February 2020. Yes, sir.
Yeah, right before the whole world shut down. So what was the reception like when you put that out? What was the reception you were getting from people?
The reception I was getting from people, everybody seemed to love it. Like everybody was telling me, or everybody who heard it, everybody was telling me, this is your best work so far. And that made me feel good because as an artist, when you put your heart and soul into something, obviously not everybody's going to like it. And I don't expect everybody to like it, but I make music for people who actually want to like it, for people who actually want to take the time and listen to it, you know? So, yeah, that actually made me feel great.
Mm-hmm. Now, with, I keep losing. I told you before I was tired. I can't, like I have the question, like it's in the chamber, and then my stuff jams. Okay,
it's bro. Like I'm pretty sure you noticed me too. Like I had a little bit of caffeine earlier, and like when you asked me a question earlier, I just paused for a second, like
yeah, like yeah, I'm tripping, but with solitary. So moving on to post solitary, you had recently dropped a joint with, now this is the cat that I say, that I'm pretty sure I say his name wrong all the time. Is it Quae Dilegitis? Is that how you say his name?
It's Quae hold up.
It's hard.
Bro, I said it correctly yesterday. So let me try to, I gotta clear my mind. And is it Quae Dilegitis? Quae Dilegitis, yeah. That's his name.
Quae Dilegitis. Shout out to Quae Dilegitis.
Yeah, like I'm pretty sure he knows like his last, like his stage name is like a tongue twister, but I think that's kind of what he likes about it.
Okay.
You know?
That's a difficult name, man. That's y'all rappers, man. Y'all gotta get it together, man.
But like shout out to you, Quae.
Facts. So you have recently dropped a song with Quae. We're just gonna say Quae for now, with all due respect. With Quae. Yeah. And can you tell us about that song? Because this is a different type of song from Solitary that was more of mood music. Shout out to Joe Budden, but mood music that was for when you're in a specific state of mind. But you dropped the song with Quae, and can you tell us about that and what it was titled and so on?
So the song is called Vultures, and Quae, at first I was expecting him to sing on it, you know, and he started off singing, and then he started rapping. I'm like, wait, hold up. hold up, you know. But like, so like the song is basically about how money doesn't mean much. I mean, I don't want to say it doesn't mean anything, because obviously you make a living from the money you make. But yeah, like I was just letting people know, like, yeah, just because you got nice cars, like nice chains, like I said, I got chains and whips like Django, and like, yeah, like I'm letting people know, like, you can have all this stuff, but that doesn't mean that you're going to be happy at the end of the day. And that's kind of what the project that I'm working on now is about. All the songs from that project is going to correlate with, you know, Vultures.
Mm-hmm. So we do have a new project coming soon, but we just don't know when. So
I don't know when, but hopefully
we'll be on the lookout.
Hopefully before the end of the year.
Okay, so we'll be on the lookout for that. Vultures is a good song. Go check that out as well. It's I like that song. So something that I want to kind of have a little brief discussion about, and we can wrap it up or whatever. Some of your ups and downs when it came to making music. So yeah, you could go ahead.
Some of my ups and downs, I feel like ups and downs, like for the most part, you just get writer's block. You get writer's block. It's not to the point where, you know, you can't write at all. I would say the worst writer's block that I ever had was to the point where I can literally just like make 3 to 4 words, and then I'll be like, what can I say? What can I say? That's pretty much all the ups and downs that I had when it came to making music. Cause like I said, it doesn't take much for me to like make a song. You know, I just take the simple stuff and then I just know how to run with it. So the only ups and downs for me is basically to have serious writer's block.
Mm-hmm. And I want to have a discussion on writing too.
Mm-hmm.
We were recently talking I was in a Zoom with some friends, some other people who make music as well, and one of my friends was asking about writing. He was asking another writer about writing and rapping and stuff like that. So for anybody who wants to rap, and you talked about how you really got started in 2016, but it took you a few years to even build up the confidence to say, okay, this is good enough and I'm going to put it out there. And I'm sure not everybody has that success. They're like, oh, this is good enough. They put it out there and they're straight trash. But what advice would you give anyone who just wants to rap, not just rap or just add rap into like their style of singing, and they want to like ride a beat and things like that? Any tips that you would have to anybody just to help them out?
If somebody wants to rap, I would just say just to bring your own spin to it. Like, everybody wants to rap like Trippie Redd. Everybody wants to rap like Lil Yachty, people like that. But I feel like if you want to be original and if you want to have your own, if you want to have your own style, just do your own thing. I feel like you don't have to run with the trend, but at the same time, you do have to know how to rhyme. In most cases, I don't want to say all rappers rhyme because not all rappers have to rhyme their stuff. But for the most part, if you want the majority of people who like rap music to listen to your stuff, then it has to hold some type of either lyricism or it has to hold some type of bounce to it. Just the way you rhyme, the way, like the tone of your voice when you deliver, like all of that stuff. Just keep all that stuff in mind. And like me, it took me a while to even realize that my delivery was pretty bad when I was younger. I remember it was a few songs, like a few early songs. When I recorded these songs, I thought they were the hardest songs out, man. I was basically just whispering. I was whispering on the phone because I didn't want nobody else to hear me as I was recording, So I was basically whispering, and then after I heard it, I'm like, "Oh, this is crazy." Man, it was straight trash. But but I would just say just focus on what do you want to accomplish when it comes to rap? Do you want to be a lyricist? Do you want to be a hype rapper, like somebody who raps on those beats with bounce? Or do you want to do all at once? Like, you can be all at once if you want, but just find your niche. Find whatever you feel comfortable with doing.
Got you. So it takes time, a lot of trial and error. I'm sure, like right. You were saying, like you might record something, listen back to it and be like, man, I was whispering or my delivery is off and things like that. Right. And I thought of one last thing too, because you said when you were younger, you were more shy, more reserved. Mm-hmm. You making music and putting it out to the public, did that have any effect on your confidence as a person, or did it make you more willing to be outgoing or anything like that?
That gave me all the confidence in the world, because it's not the fact that the quality was good, because like I said, the quality back then was pretty trash, but it was pretty much so just people knowing who you are. Like I remember one time I remember walking into I think it was a gas station, and I had somebody come up to me and say, "Hey, you make music, right?" I'm like, "Yeah, I don't believe I," like in the back of my mind, I'm like, "I don't believe I know who you are, but thank you for paying attention." And then there was another time where, you know, my mom was at work, and she was listening to one of my old songs, and you know, she had it playing in her office, and somebody walked past, and my mom said he had a bunch of bracelets, like different colored bracelets on his wrists and stuff. And he walked past the office, and then he kind of backed up and poked his head inside the office and said, "Wait, is that Tavon Kacey?" and my mom was like, "Yeah, that's my son." And then the guy said, I've been looking for this dude." You know, like he said, "I've been looking for him because, you know, he's the only clean artist in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania."
Gotcha.
You know, I thought it was cool because apparently he wanted me to perform in front of, you know, in front of hundreds of people. And I'm not that type of person that will go out of his way to perform in front of that many people. Cause like I said, I'm pretty low key till this day. I'm pretty low key, but now if I felt right, then yeah, I would. But yeah, I forget what the question was, but
oh no, it was about you answered that perfectly. Like the having that reserved disposition kind of fading away when you started putting the music out to the public. So yeah, that was something that I did think about too, because it's nice, it's super nice that something like music, how it can affect someone putting out music, how it can affect someone and their personality and how they feel and things like that. So that's pretty cool. Anything else? Is there something that I missed? Anybody you want to shout out? Anything that you just want to mention to anybody who watches this? This is the time.
Well, most definitely, man. Like I definitely want to give a couple shout outs, first of all. So I feel like, because people look at quality in music like, oh, well, quality is the only thing that matters. And yeah, like you can have good quality, but the song can still be bad, you know. But at the same time, I feel like mixing and mastering and just the quality overall doesn't really mean much if somebody has a good message that they're getting across perfectly clear, you know. So my friend and fellow artist Michael Blaine is a perfect example of that, because not only do I feel like he's one of the most talented rappers in our peer group, a lot of people don't really give him credit. A lot of people look at his music and say, "Oh, this is like this is different. This is weird," you know. But if you really pay attention to what he's saying and how he gets his message across, it's like super authentic. And I've always been one to respect, you know, people who are super authentic when it came to music. So my friend Michael Blaine, shout out to you, Mitchell, aka Michael Blaine. And also, you know, the teddy bear king himself, King Keith.
Yeah, shout out to the teddy bear king. Shout out to Michael Blaine.
Shout out Michael Blaine. Shout out Chlorophyll Collins. Me and him still have to work.
He's nice.
Yeah, like I heard a few of his beats on SoundCloud, and I was like, "Dang, like he, like I didn't know he was like I didn't know he was that good."
He's nice. Yeah, he's nice.
And then also Alec Hershey. I just heard his album that he put out 2 days ago.
Yeah, just a couple days ago.
Yeah, he put out an album, and that thing is fire. That's definitely what I want to say. I definitely got a few favorites on that. And shout out Crowded Places, shout out Cool Hand Podcast, shout out everybody, man. Shout out everybody. It's a lot of people who I want to shout out, Black Knowledge, but at the same time, this is yeah, like my mind is blank. Like I said, I can't really think of everybody else. But.
It's all good. It's all Alec Hershey, Crowded Places.
Shout out DQ the GOAT.
DQ the GOAT. Shout out everybody. This is the Cool Hand Podcast. Tavon, thank you for coming on. Once again, shout out everybody. Solitary is out. We got the Vultures single that's on the upcoming project coming out with Quae. Shout out to Quae.
Yeah.
Quae. He set us up with that name. He set us up.
Quae did the Dilegitis. Yeah.
Shout out to Quae Dilegitis. This is the Cool Hand Podcast. Cool Hand Podcast, something you got to deal with. Easy.
Easy.
You know I got that from T-Rex.
Yeah, man.
Yes.
Yeah. Trust me.
That is the only.
Should I go again?